Okay. What's up, YouTube? I'm Lo,
I'm Emma.
and you reached Book
Book
Girls
Girls
of
of
the
Internet.
Internet. I hope the view is actually the right way this time, but we'll see. Anyways, yeah, I see it in the 2 now, so it's fine. Okay. So, we are talking today about, it's a long title. One Day We'll All Be Dead and None of This Will Matter by Scaachi Koul. Please, the last name pronunciation, I just vibed it out, okay? But I know it's Scaachi. So, this was my pick. It came out in 2017, and Scaachi is Canadian from Calgary. And it's a collection of essays. So, okay, Emma, I don't know. Do you want to break the ice? Impressions? What did you think?
I was gonna say, what do you think? But I can start with what I thought. I freaking loved it.
Yeah.
I inhaled it. The writing was so good. The stories were so like moving but funny and just like hit all the right notes for me. I should actually look up my notes. Also, I didn't check pronouns. Is it she, her?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Um, what did I describe it as? I think I wrote it down. I absolutely love this book. The writing is quick and clever and relatable and fierce. She tackles serious subjects in a beautiful way. She is how I imagine the voice in my head to sound like when I'm at my funniest and most thoughtful. That was how it felt reading. I was like, this just
Oh
feels
my
like,
God, I love your comments. Are these the comments that you keep in your book list thing?
yeah, yeah. I just put it
Oh,
on my
nice,
app and yeah, I
nice.
showed them.
Um,
So
yes,
yeah, I loved it.
honestly,
What did you think?
agreed. Yeah, book girls approved. Just backstory, I wanted to read this book since it came out, so a long time ago, but whatever, like one thing led to another. I never bought it, and I was hanging out in BMV recently
Did you
enough.
get it at BMV?
Yeah.
Oh, what a steal!
Yeah, and there were a lot of copies, 7.99.
Wow.
Yeah. And I saw it and I was like, oh my God, that's Sachi. And I know her because she's a BuzzFeed writer and previously based in Toronto. And her and Elamin are actually friends, or I guess I don't know if they're real friends in real life, but they always at each other on Twitter. So that's how I know her. But yeah, the essays, so good, like being from, I don't consider myself an immigrant, but reading about like being an immigrant in Canada is like such a nuanced and complex and really profound experience. And it's not like she crystallizes it, but it's just like the way that she's telling the stories is so rich and so um touching. It's really touching. Like for example, like her parents, she fully humanized her parents. um Obviously her dad has anger problems, but also like at the end, like that last essay was like, oh, I kind of love him though. Like, he seems like a quirky guy. Yeah, it was excellent. Did you listen to that section of the podcast that I sent you?
Yeah, yesterday?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, anyways. So her
Complicated
boyfriend
day.
in the book, Ham Hock,
Yeah.
um, they actually had ended up getting married, and they also went through a divorce
Oh no,
last
because I love
year.
their like love story that you learn
I
about.
know, because I was like, I read the acknowledgments, and she used his real name in the
I
acknowledgement.
looked at that too, yeah.
Yeah. So I Googled the man, and I'm like, okay, he's also a reporter, but and somehow I just like Googled like Scaachi Koul and Scott, whatever his last name. And
Mhm.
yeah, they went through a divorce. So now I feel like, now because we've read it now in 2023, I feel like the book ended in a cliffhanger because the last essay focused on her relationship with her parents after moving in, with Ham Hock, her boyfriend. her boyfriend's nickname at the time, and how it had impacted and literally created a bit of an alienation between her and her father.
Yeah.
And now to have gone through a divorce, I'm like,
I
are you
have to
gonna drop a second book? Because we're kind of waiting now.
I want your thoughts on it.
I know. But anyway, so that podcast was before recording, we were talking about Christmas. That podcast was about spending Christmas alone. So her segment, she was sharing some of her writing and reflections on spending her first Christmas alone after her divorce. And it was such a beautiful passage. And, you know, it's obviously divorce is heartbreaking for all parties. So I really wonder if she's working on a new book or not, but I think the internet wants to know, you know.
I hope she is selfishly, and I hope if she's kind of a writer that finds healing in that journey of writing, also for her, I hope she is.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit like Tara Westover. We're just like, so are you gonna write a new book? Like, when is it coming out? Waiting. So okay, Book Girls approved, heavily recommended, and extra pride because it's a Canadian book.
Yeah.
You are typically the passage person, but I have some.
Okay, I have two short ones, so you go first.
Okay, I have a lot, but I'll just pick a random.
Okay.
Some of them
The
that were,
writing is just so beautiful. I was
yeah,
like,
she's just,
I love it.
it's like she's serious, and then at the last sentence of the paragraph is just hilarious, like
Yeah.
so funny. Okay, so this passage is when her parents decide to go to Cuba. It's the first essay, and she's describing how they're packing their their suitcases. I watched in awe as they proceeded to stuff suitcases with a 5-pound bag of almonds. Quote, I need to have almonds every day. And what if they don't have almonds there? A 500 milliliter jug of SPF 60. Have I mentioned that my parents have brown skin? A family-sized bottle of Tylenol with enough pills to kill a small camel, energy bars, 3 packs of gum, and 4 ham sandwiches for the 4-hour flight. They brought ham sandwiches to the place that inspired the Cubano. Just overpacking. Okay. There was a really good one. There are so many good ones that I really like where she was reflecting on her race, but when she's in India, but I don't have a specific passage for that. But wait, I'm looking for the one. Okay, so her niece is half brown, half white, and
I
still in
love
that.
her relationship with the
I
niece. That
know
was just
the
so sweet.
raisin. I just want to see a photo of raisin at this point.
You find one, please send it to me.
Yeah. So she basically, for context, Scaachi has been trying to kind of contextualize her own race. Yes, she's brown here in Canada, but it's a lot more nuanced when she goes back to India because she is really fair skinned. So she describes kind of how she, you know, her interaction with Raisin in regards to her race in this essay, and this paragraph I really liked. So it infuriates me that I am relieved that for Raisin in this way, that I know her experience of my hometown, Calgary, will be different, not only because she's of a new generation, but also because she is passing in a way that none of us ever could. My brother was fair, sure, but he had immigrants' parents and a Hindu name. I wasn't as dark as my dad, but my name was a clear giveaway, and I had thick hair all over my body. Raisin is our only outlier for now. Her mother is white, she lives in a white neighborhood, she eats white food, she listens to white music, and goes to a white school. In some ways, things will be easier for her, and in others, much harder because you can belong even less when you come from two separate factions. We struggled towards whiteness, and soon she will have to develop her own definitions for the complexity of being two things at once. I want to stamp brownness on her, but in a way that protects her rather than exposes her. I can't have it both ways.
Yeah, I remember that whole, I thought she just did a good job of capturing the complexity of like these opposing wants for this human being that she adores
Yeah.
and just wants the world for, right? And it's
Yeah.
like it's not black and white, and that there's a clear like, oh, it'd be great if this or it'd be great if that. It's like there's pros and
Yeah.
cons to both, and I thought she explored that really, really beautifully.
Yeah, and I'll let you go. I'll let you go with the excerpts after this, but also saying in the essays where she talks about her cousin's wedding, the whole essay is about, damn, I hate this wedding. But then at the end, she's like, I guess I will have to go through it, whatever. And then I said, and when it's Raisin's turn, I will expect her to do the same, because if I haven't seen you in that long, that's the least you can do, or something like that. And I just thought it was so good, because it's like, yeah, of course, you can really despise like the whole over the top wedding extravaganza, and like this is a severe underestimation. I've never even gone to an Indian wedding. But also at the same time, like, feel like when you immigrate and quote assimilate, at the end of the day, like that's kind of all you have. Like these symbolic ceremonies that are so kind of a chore, but ultimately they distill who you are. So I just thought that essay was amazing. Okay, share your excerpts that you have.
And just to add to that, I'm like, it's the connection I think that it maintains both to like
Yeah.
culture and family, and especially when the family still lives in India, like that whole aspect. I don't know. Yeah, it was good. I liked it a lot. Mine are very short. It was just two like sentences where I'm like, I just love how this sentence was written. Like it just, so one was when she's talking about her friend Sweetu and her relationship with her mother, like the friend's relationship with the friend's mother. So the sentence before the one I highlighted says, Sweetu took a step towards the car, then swiveled back to her mother, standing behind her. They held each other for what felt like a world-stopping lifetime. And this is what I highlighted. It made me want to rip my heart out and hand it to them, because mine will never be used as much as those two were using theirs. It's like, oof, I just love it. And yeah, that was right after the friend got married. So it was like she was leaving with her husband. But anyways, the other one was where I forget which essay it's in, maybe the last one. But where she's talking about her dad, and she's going through like all of these instances where I'll just read the whole thing. Fuck it. So when I decided to stay in Toronto for the summer of 2012 to intern instead of returning home after I finished university, he didn't speak to me for 2 weeks. In 2008, my mother went to the mall during his midday meal hour, and he attempted to make a tuna melt, burning his hand in the process. He spoke to no one for 45 minutes until he realized he was still very hungry. In brackets, he wanted her to throw out the toaster oven too. And a year and 4 months ago, after Hamhawk and I moved in together, he shut down yet again, this time a delayed response. And this sentence is the one I highlighted where I'm just like, Papa's sun is the brightest, so when he decides to set, it makes for some very long, cold winters. Like, that's just beautiful.
It's so beautiful. That's the last essay where she's talking, she like really like hammers it home. Like, yeah, it's excellent. And all these emails from her dad, like after each chapter,
I
are
know.
so funny.
But also so sweet, because you're
But
like,
also so sweet. Yeah.
it's so funny.
Oh my God, he's so funny.
Yeah.
I would just want to share one for our audience. In case you're wondering, you need to buy this book.
Oh my God, yeah. I got it from the library, and I'm like, I will be buying it. I want that on my shelf.
Okay, this one is before the I think this one is before the Indian wedding essay. Okay, so Papa says, you children are getting on my nerves. The problem is very high expectations. Scaachi, what would you like us to do? Papa, treat me like a demigod, not a full god, an in-between god. Pay homage to me every time you see me. Do exactly what is in my mind. Scaachi, what is in your mind? Papa, I'll think of something. And it's all formatted in like what I presume are real emails, but their sense of humor is so funny. And it's, I think, you know, evidently like her sense of humor is heavily derived, I assume, from her father. Um,
Yeah, it's
and
gotta
it,
be
yeah, the book is just so clever and thoughtful, and
sharp. It's,
I hope she
yeah,
writes more.
me too.
Um, okay, so we decided to add a little segment at the end of our videos where we mention
For
what
all of our fans,
all
so
our fans, yeah, who are
they've
watching.
been asking and we want to deliver.
Yeah, we just out here being influencers. Um, to just make mentions of some books that we really love right now, but that we don't read together because we actually mostly don't read together.
Yeah.
So I'll go first. One book that I read earlier this year that I really loved is called We Too, Essays on Sex Work and Survival. And it's a collection of essays by different authors, edited by Natalie West. And Tina Horn. And this is what the cover looks like. And it's mostly talks about issues in sex work, but it's truly about labor relations. And it sheds light a lot on working conditions in lines of work that are very stigmatized in society, but in a way that I guess normies like me and maybe you can grasp and truly feel deep compassion and see why it, you know, being protected, namely from sexual assault in any line of work, is just a basic human right ultimately. So I thought these essays were very informative and ultimately very important. So that's my book for this segment.
I like it. I have not read it, so maybe I'll add it to my to read list. Mine's a little different. So one I read recently that I really liked, just this month actually, is called This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Mohtar and Max Gladstone. Maybe mispronouncing those, I apologize. So it's co-written by two sci-fi authors. And it's, I guess, yeah, I would say it's sci-fi. It's like set in the future, and there are two protagonists who are on dual sides of the time war, if you will. So it's red and blue. And they form this interesting connection. Anyways, it just, I'm like, how do I don't want to give things away, but it was just so interesting. Like, it kind of reminded me, if you've seen Loki, like that kind of thing where they have these time agents that are
Yes.
going to wreck the timeline. So that's the kind of vibe, but with more of a focus on like less focus on the details of what they're actually correcting. They like kind of briefly mention stuff, but that's really not the point of it. The point is the relationship between these two.
Okay.
I did, my notes of it were, I said, I like this a lot. I said one of the authors has an award-winning short story, and this felt like a short story that got stretched into a short novel because it's not very long, but not in a bad way. Because sometimes you read something, you're like, that should have been a short story, and suddenly you're like, okay, actually, I liked having a bit more to that. So that was a recent read of mine that I really enjoyed.
I just read the summary. I added it to my list. Oh my god, this list is a joke at this point, but
it's endless. It's like
it's still on my list.
I have actually made some progress on my list. It was at 150 and now it's at 139.
Damn.
In that time, I've read 140 books. So,
my list is at, this is the list that's in a list, not the books that are on my shelf that are not on this list.
Yeah, those don't count because we'll just get to those when we get to those.
Okay, so that list is 177. Not, and yeah, okay, I might have like brought it down, but like, bruh. Also, not counting the books on my ebook, because they're not also on my list. So anyway,
I feel like I read one and then I add two. Like, it's just, the list is never going to be zero. Never going to be zero. But that's okay. I like it that way.
Okay, thanks for watching. If you like our videos, please subscribe.